Well, thanks for sticking into this second hour of America Talks Live. And if you're just joining us, welcome. And you might have noticed that Dr. Gina isn't here with us. Well, she's on her book tour this week, but she's going to be joining us on air a bit later in the week. So we want to wish Gina best of luck with that and safe travels.
When are you going to write a book?
You know, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I think you should.
Yeah?
Yeah? What would you focus on?
You know, that's a good question.
Well, think about it. We've got time.
We'll
All right, a reminder, we're taking your phone calls. 1-877-NEWS-MAX is the number to call if you'd like to weigh in. Obviously, we've been covering Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation hearing.
And Colin Kaepernick is the face of Nike, so let us know what you think about either of those.
Yeah, a lot of that going on. You're looking live now at that confirmation hearing that was taking place. Again, they took a break.
It's like a lunch break, I would assume.
Well, yeah, I mean, this has been going on
Started
now.
9:30 this morning. Democrats threw tantrums for about an hour and a half. And so
we're going to show you some of those tantrums.
Sure, they needed martinis, an additional lunch after that display this morning.
Wow, it was really fiery.
It was fiery.
I knew it would be, but did you expect it to be?
You know, I didn't expect the Democrats to do what they did in terms of, and I say this isn't hyperbole. I timed it as I was watching the video. I rewound. It took Kamala Harris, Democratic Senator from California, Kamala Harris, exactly 6 seconds. 6 seconds to start interrupting Chairman Chuck Grassley when he tried to open the hearing. 6 seconds, and then the senator from Minnesota jumped in, Kavanaugh, and then Blumenthal, and then Booker, and all the usual, the other Mazie Hirono, the usual suspects all jumped in. And so, but let's bring back in Freedom Watch founder Larry Klayman. He's also a former federal prosecutor with the Department of Justice. Larry, first, some big news. John Kyle's going to be replacing John McCain. Kyle's one of the guys who's walking Kavanaugh through this confirmation process. So is this a big boost for Kavanaugh? Is Kyle going to be doing some lobbying behind the scenes now?
Yes, I think it will be a boost for Kavanaugh. It's obviously better than having the wife of John McCain in there as the senator. I wish, again, that we get somebody more conservative, somebody more principled, somebody more establishment in there on the interim basis. I mean, Kyle is an establishment Republican, but it's better than Cindy McCain at this point, because given what we saw at the funeral the other day with Meghan McCain just going after the president, I wouldn't think that Cindy McCain would act any differently and would try to derail any nomination of President Trump.
Well, Cindy McCain is actually praising that selection on Twitter. This, according to CNN, she's saying, a dear friend of mine and John's, it's a great tribute to John that he is prepared to go back into public service to help the state of Arizona. So she appears to be pleased with that decision. Who would you have picked if not this man?
Well, somebody else. I mean, obviously, I like Sheriff Joe Arpaio. He's my client. He's my friend. He did run for the U.S. Senate. There are other people in Arizona who are very principled, not establishment. I don't have the particular names on the top of my head, but I would have picked Sheriff Joe Arpaio.
Okay. Interesting to know.
Yeah. Well, I would have assumed that. They're friends. He's his client, and Arpaio's been a hardcore conservative, but I think there would have been a lot of.
President wanted him to
Yeah, President likes him.
Yeah.
But there would have been a lot of backlash, I think. No, Larry, with a pick like Arpaio. Isn't this just a really safe pick to placate everybody?
There's a lot of people to placate.
A lot of people to placate, a lot of factions to placate. Safe pick to placate everybody until they figure out what's going to happen. Kyle's 76 years old. He retired in 2013.
Right.
I doubt this guy is going to run for re-election when the time comes.
I think you're absolutely right. And Kyle's not a bad guy. I didn't mean to suggest that. But he's not the principled person that conservatives, libertarians, people of faith, and others, I think, would want to see in there in Arizona. And let me say something about Sheriff Arpaio. He's been much maligned. He's become a punching bag. The judge who ruled against him was a Clinton appointee. It was a misdemeanor, not a felony. John McCain, in his book, stated falsely that it was a felony. He was pardoned for that. And I've never heard him say a racist thing in all the time that I've known him. But this is the media today. They'll destroy you, and the Democrats will destroy you.
Well, look, Arpaio, I've always been an Arpaio fan. He was a tough cop. He's a former federal agent. He had a great career, very well respected by both the federal agents he worked with, his deputies, and it was just inevitable that he was going to be smeared because he was too hardcore. He was too conservative. So.
Well, I want to go back and talk about Judge Kavanaugh a little bit. As I mentioned, breaking away now for lunch, but it's supposed to be 17 hours of this hearing taking place. I know you mentioned earlier in our first hour, Larry, that you would not vote for Kavanaugh. So for the people who are just tuning in now, You said you wouldn't do that because of his stance on surveillance. But I want to talk about some other indicators. A lot of people are questioning, is he too conservative? Is he not conservative enough? What do people usually use to gauge on how conservative someone will be?
Good question, Miranda. Well, in this case, and the Democrats are making a lot of hay of it, the Federalist Society. Okay, there's nothing wrong with the Federalist Society. It's a mainstream organization, and they rate the conservative credentials of judicial nominees. So does the Heritage Foundation. They're think tanks, and that's the way it should be. He is conservative in many ways. My problem with Judge Kavanaugh, and again, I've appeared in front of him, is that he's very much the product of the Washington swamp. He bought.
Meaning because he was appointed by former President George W. Bush?
Well, that's one aspect of it, but the other aspect of it is that he's been auditioning his entire life to become a Supreme Court justice. I mean, he bought tens of thousands of dollars of tickets to the Washington National game, went into debt for that. There's nothing wrong with going into debt. He paid it back, but he was trying to curry favor with this Washington, D.C. establishment. And it's ironic that Don McGahn, who was the White House counsel, who's soon leaving, the president tweeted that the other day before he even told McGahn that he was tweeting, that he was the pick of McGahn. Now, McGahn may have fallen out of favor with President Trump for his interviews with Robert Mueller. They don't know what the guy said. And it's kind of a murky world of the Washington Insiders Club that picks Brett Kavanaugh. I would prefer to have seen somebody outside of Washington. Even the president's sister, who's a judge on the Sixth Circuit, I think would have been much better.
Yeah, but that would have been, but Larry, that would have optically looked bad. And just one note on Kavanaugh and the baseball tickets. I looked into that. I don't know if you have, but what he really did was he put tens of thousands of dollars of season tickets on his credit card, and he bought those tickets with groups of friends. They immediately reimbursed him. That's a pretty common thing to do if you want to get the miles on your card. One of your buddies says, oh, don't worry about it. I'll buy the tickets. I'll buy dinner. You guys give me the cash. So I don't really see that. I thought that was much ado about absolutely nothing.
No, he didn't do anything wrong. What I'm saying is that was the way for him to curry favor. Big corporations, others, they buy seasons tickets. They bring their supporters. They bring people they want to do business with. This guy has been auditioning for this part for a very long time. And I feel uncomfortable having a Washington insider on that bench.
But could anybody get confirmed without those same credentials? I mean, we're talking about the Supreme Court. The guy has I hear your concerns. You and I are often of like mind on these things.
He's the best nominee ever, probably the most
Grassley
qualified.
likes him. The Federalist Society likes him. I'm a little concerned that the American Bar Association likes him because they lean left. But I get their position. But could you get confirmed today, even by your own party, if you don't have these credentials? Ivy League Law School, the D.C. Circuit. I mean, don't you need a certain pedigree to even be considered? We saw what happened to Harriet Miers under Bush because she didn't have that pedigree.
You're right, John, in terms of your feeling about confirmation and making it easier. But you know what? Going to a Ivy League school does not make you a genius.
No, I'm talking about pedigree and what's assumed. Yeah. Larry's right, though.
Right,
yeah.
No.
Of course, I'm the anti-pedigree person in some ways. I would rather see somebody from Notre Dame or Duke Law School or Emory Law School, where I went, that isn't corrupted by this liberal left-wing thinking in these places. And it doesn't matter where you go to law school. One Democrat said, I forgot who it was, and it was a good point, is that Kavanaugh's never tried a case. Okay?
That's a great point. Yeah.
But let me ask you something, because you said, he's a conservative, even though you wouldn't vote for him. Let's talk about some of the issues, because these are issues that are important to our audience. Abortion, guns, where he stand on those issues.
He's pretty good on guns.
A lot of people have used some of his decision making to decide that he is conservative. Yeah. Can you explain why you say he is a conservative?
Well, you hit the nail on the head, Miranda. Yeah, I mean, he is conservative on gun rights. That's good. I agree with that. He tends towards pro-life. He's not totally clear on that. In fact, most of the evangelical community opposed him because they think he'll bail out on rewriting the abortion laws, which, of course, everybody wants to see Roe v. Wade go on. It doesn't mean that abortion is going to be ended. It's a states' rights issue. There is no right to privacy in that respect in the Constitution. And on some other issues, he's very conservative as well. With regard to Obamacare and other things, and that's all good. But you cannot have a Supreme Court justice who has little to no respect for the Fourth Amendment, who believes that the government has the right to spy on anyone, even if there's no probable cause that a crime's being committed or that you're in communication with terrorists. That, to me, is a fatal flaw. Now, we're far down the line. I want to see the Republicans get their guy through. I want to see the president get their guy through. I was hoping that earlier on, President Trump would withdraw that nomination and put somebody else in there, like Judge Hardiman, who could have been easily confirmed.
Blair, I hear what you're saying about when it comes to surveillance, and I think somebody who's usually the first one to jump on that would be Senator Rand Paul, yet he is saying he will vote to confirm him. So why is that?
Rand Paul jumps on everything with his 5'5" frame, but it doesn't have much impact. And I don't mean any disrespect to Senator Paul. I agree with him on some issues. But he does not have the courage of his convictions. On nearly every occasion, he has backed off after he's taken a stand. And in fact, he had filed a class action lawsuit after I did with regard to the surveillance. He never did anything to move it forward, and he just used it for political purposes. So Rand Paul, is good with his mouth, but he's not too good with actions. And that's the problem I have with.
But Larry, in the 30 seconds we have left, could it also be that Rand Paul realizes that, he's getting 95, 96%, even 90% of what he likes with Kavanaugh? You're never going to find 100% with anybody. I don't care who they are. I don't care what job they're in.
John, I understand what you're saying. I would ordinarily agree with that. But the issue of mass surveillance without probable cause to invade everybody, it's like a sword of Damocles over everybody's head. The intelligence agencies, the deep state can use this anytime they want to destroy you, coerce you.
But you're saying it's more than that's not a 5% issue, that's a 51% issue. That's
a 100% issue. That cannot be permitted in this society. George Orwell wrote a book about it, 1984. Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged. I mean, you cannot have that kind of power in the hands of an alternative government with the American people. And conservatives, many of them don't really recognize that. Ironically, the left supported my lawsuits more than the right in this regard. But it's the fundamental constitutional principle that the Fourth Amendment is sacrosanct.
Larry Klayman, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to have you on the program.
Good to see you, Larry.
Thank you, guys.